On today's episode of the DeRaud-Messinger Show, we talk Longhorns recruiting. Longhorns fans, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. It's greatly appreciated. So, guys, I know for you Longhorns fans, the Oklahoma game was not what you quite wanted, but we're here to talk about how that game will affect recruiting for good or bad. And Dylan, how does this game affect recruiting, good or bad?
Well, Devin, it could have obviously went a lot better, but it could have gone a lot worse. And I would like to say it fell somewhere in between. I know it's a loss to OU, which is never a good loss. Never a good loss to Oklahoma. But you got to look at the positives here. They show that they can hang with them, and they show that they've got a lot of talent. But what we want to focus on is on the defensive end, is where we obviously UT needs to improve. And I'm looking at linebacker Anthony Hill out of Denton Ryan. I know last recruiting class they got Javian Sanders out of
Denton
Ryan as well. So this is a pool to probably get from, as well as maybe there's that connection he can bring him over as well. And then in the cornerback spot, I'm looking at Javian Toviano. Hopefully I said that right. Out of Arlington Martin.
Yep.
These are two guys on the defensive end, both 5 stars that could really help the team. They are both looking at between OU and Texas. So this game is going to mean a little bit when it comes down to their decision. But obviously, Devin, as you can attest, the defensive side of the ball is somewhere UT needs to recruit at.
Yeah, I mean, they're both, as you said, weighing Texas and Oklahoma, and you can look at it on the good side and the bad side for Texas. On the bad side, they need some help desperately on that defense. So if you're a young stud player and you have some talent, you have a good shot of getting on the field pretty early for the Longhorns, especially because Coach Kwiatkowski, the defensive coordinator for Longhorns, right now it seems like he doesn't have the players for his scheme. And, that means he has to adjust a little bit. So as you're saying, Dylan, he can recruit some guys by himself, obviously, fit the scheme a little bit, his mold, as you will. But, I mean, you're talking defense, which is a first for you, I think. But offensively, I think if you're a recruit that watched the Red River game, yes, Caleb Williams went off. Yes, Marvin Mims went off. But also, Xavier Worthy caught, I believe, 261 receiving yards and 2 receiving touchdowns as well as a true freshman. So guys like Jalen Hale, who I was able to cover last weekend against Highland Park, that's someone to watch out for. But he's also looked at by Oklahoma, Dylan, which, as we were saying in our prediction video, they have a lot of talent at receiver and tight end that they didn't even have to utilize. It ended up becoming the Marvin Mims show. But along with Hale, there's Ashton Cozart, 4-star 2023 receiver was there, other guys as well. But overall, I mean, I don't think it's as big of an impact, Dylan, just this game that you would think it is.
Well, when you look at it with the players that you're going to play with, Casey Thompson showed that he's a really good player. Like he played really well in that game. So on the offensive side of the ball, when you get in these recruits, what are they looking at? They're probably looking at what quarterback they're going to be playing with. So there is that little bit of problem where Caleb Williams is going to be around, and he's, it seems like he might be once in a generation type of talent when you look at some of the comparisons he gets from analysts. But Casey Thompson has shown that he is really good, as well as wide receivers like Xavier Worthy has shown that they can flourish in this offense and that big play potential. Like this is a new Texas offense that looks very solid and looks like something that can nurture these type of talented players that they hadn't been able to in the past.
Yeah, I think in terms of Texas, the, better point for recruits to be looking at is the system as a whole, because Casey Thompson, he's a junior right now, so technically you could probably still play another year or two, and maybe the COVID season factors into that, and he could get an extra year if he really wanted to play that long. But overall, a lot of the guys that probably were watching this game recruiting-wise, if they're like a junior in high school, they're probably going to be playing with a different quarterback by the time they're at least getting sizable amount of snaps. So I think overall, Sark's system is what they're looking at there. You can't really be angry if you're a recruit and you see that, he likes to feed his receivers, something that Longhorns fans, we haven't really seen the ball being spread around too often lately. I mean, it seems like every season there's one guy that goes off. You had Duvernay Lil Jordan Humphrey, Colin Johnson. Those were basically 3 separate years for just sizable yardage by those guys. But for Oklahoma, as you said, kind of a different factor. Caleb Williams stays for 4 years and continues to look how he did against Texas. Guys want to play for him, and it doesn't really matter about Lincoln Riley's system, even though obviously his system is what attracts those players there to Oklahoma.
On the note of Lincoln Riley, though, Devin, I just wanted to add, I know there's some recent news. There's a head coaching vacancy in the NFL with a pretty big program in the Las Vegas Raiders. Lincoln Riley's name's already been thrown in there a little bit, so that is something that they can factor in as well. Which coach is going to be there longer? Which one's more likely to go to the NFL? And obviously, Lincoln Riley would be the most likely to go to the NFL. So just keep that in your minds. Not saying it will happen, but it's a real possibility.
He'd be a big get for a team like the Raiders. But you also got to remember, I'm pretty sure his name was being floated around for like the Cowboys, and he's from Texas. So I feel like if he wanted the Cowboys job or something like that, he would have taken it. I feel like, I don't know, he seems like just a coach that's pretty satisfied and happy with being a college coach. But as you're mentioning, Dylan, coaches don't ever seem to be satisfied. They like to move to higher levels, quote unquote. I think college football is a pretty high level in and of itself.
Just look at Urban Meyer. Just look at Urban Meyer.
That's true.
But don't use him as an example of how he's doing in the NFL right now, but use that as an example of going to the NFL. Yes.
Well, he also, though, won titles, so maybe the Texas head coaches and the Oklahoma head coaches are waiting to, at some point in time, achieve that milestone before looking to different pastures. But overall, I wouldn't be too scared, I would say, if I'm a recruit on that aspect. But Dylan, I have 3 needs to look at for the Longhorns, recruiting-wise, off of this game, and just in general. Linebacker, you got Overshown, who's looked good, but Overshown right now is currently a senior. I think he could stay another year, like I said, with COVID stuff. But, his draft stock, Dylan, is probably about as high as it can get right now.
After that game, he played really well. Yeah, I would assume it's going to go up.
Yeah, you'd have to assume that right now he's the Longhorns' defensive MVP. I don't know if it was the first drive, but early in the game, probably the first quarter, Overshown had a sack on 3rd down. The next play, 4th down, he blocks a punt. That
drove the guy into him too. Like he just went right through him.
He's one of my favorite players to watch. He's the armband bandit, as they call him here. But he's, like I said, he's not going to be there forever. The depth at the position seems to be pretty thin overall. You're just seeing a lot of players that haven't played in a while kind of being thrown into that position and competing for some snaps. But, if you're Texas, you want to fill those needs with some 5-star players. Currently, I believe they have 2 linebacker commits. I know Travell Johnson is one and Owen Carey is the other out of California. But linebacker is always a position where you want to recruit a couple, so I would expect the Longhorns to try to maybe get another 1 or 2 at that position. And Dylan, we saw Harold Perkins at Cy Park. That is a player that I'm watching out for if you're Longhorns fans. However, this is more of a wish list for Texas, I believe. He's been crystal balled to Texas A&M. I think he's only got maybe 1 or 2 there, maybe more. But I don't think he has his mind made up. He visited Texas 2 weekends in a row earlier in the year, which obviously bodes well for the Longhorns. He seems like a guy that likes the city life a little bit, likes to be mentioned in the name, image, and likeness stuff, and that's really where you can get some money in Austin, and as well to just contributing on the field. But what did you think about him when we saw him a couple weekends ago?
Well, there was one play I would draw from. They were making the team they were facing. I can't remember who they were facing. But Cy Lakes, when they were playing Cy Lakes, they were actually getting a drive going a little bit, and he came off the sidelines for one of the set of downs, and they stuffed them instantly. So you can feel when he's you can feel it. You can feel his presence when he's on the field. There's no doubt about that. As well as on offense, he would come in on 3rd downs and then just take it to the house whenever he touched the ball. So that's what he's explosive. He's athletic, and he would be a great get.
And just giving a little context to what you were saying there, Perkins plays on both defense and offense. He's leading Cy Park in rushing yards and touchdowns, and as well as playing linebacker on the defensive side. When they were on offense, it seemed like they were trying to give him some rest, Dylan. First down, second down.
Yeah.
Third down, maybe. Okay, we didn't get the first down. Okay, let's bring Harold in there. I know he was on defense, but let's give him one play. Then he takes it to the house. Then on defense, he was playing the majority of the snaps there. So you could probably tell the coaches are trying to get him some experience on the defensive side of the ball, which, if you're a college coach like Sark and Coach Kwiatkowski, that's great. But yet again, you have a lot of fighting to do there. Like I said, A&M is a school to look at. LSU, I wouldn't be surprised if there's another one as well. But that's the linebacker position. The other position you got to look at, Dylan, I'm sure you can speak to this, that cornerback position. Marvin Mims, just by himself, went off against the Longhorns. There's a lot of jump ball situations. It seems like the Longhorns are kind of lacking a center fielder safety as well, so the cornerbacks don't get too much help there. But when you're on that one-on-one situation, you got to find a way to not get boxed out, which practically was what Marvin Mims was doing with the ball. So cornerback, you mentioned Toviano out of Arlington Martin. He's also looking at Oklahoma. Some people say he's an Oklahoma lean right now, but I think his recruitment's still pretty open. I'm sure he's weighing his options. Longhorns have made way, I believe, in that recruitment, at least contact-wise, but yet again, a lot of work to do there. And the name I'd be looking at, Dylan, is Denver Harris out of North Shore, the 5-star cornerback 2022 class. Now, Harris is just coming off of his injury, which is great to hear. He's back and healthy on the field. The problem for Longhorns fans is that Nick Saban also wants Harris, and Dylan, that's a death wish for a lot of recruiters out there in the United States of America. So Sark and really all that staff, you got Terry Joseph, you got Blake Gideon, Kwiatkowski, defensive coordinator, they're all going to have to really, they might have to camp out in North Shore in order to get Harris, but that would be a big get. Harris
just sleep over in his house. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, DeAndre Jordan situation from a couple of years ago. But he's a top 5 player in the state of Texas. I believe he's a top 10 player nationally, which just shows you how big of a get that would be. And the Longhorns already have the number 3 recruiting class in the nation, number 1 in the Big 12 for the class of 2022. So there's the cornerback. And then the last position would be offensive line. I think we can all agree on that, Dylan. Offensive line did not look good out there against Oklahoma. The first half it held up just fine, but when Alex Grinch had time to make some adjustments in the second half, the Longhorns struggled to run the ball, which has been their bread and butter. And Bijan Robinson, he was already making magic out of nothing, but he was having a harder time making magic out of nothing in that second half. And I don't know. I know there's a name you want to mention here. His name is like mine, Dylan. Do you know who that is?
Devon Campbell, Devon, out of Bowie High School in Arlington. That would be solid. Obviously, there's only so many plays Bijan Robinson can do. He had that one Reggie Bush-style play where he's cutting all the way down the field, or almost a Saquon Barkley type of play in the Rose Bowl against USC a couple years ago. But again, not much you can do when you get handed the ball and you're instantly wrapped up. So that is definitely the one of the parts on offense that need to be fixed going into next season. But obviously OU always has that talent on the defensive line, so you were kind of just waiting for that to happen at some point and have the passing game work out.
They have Perion Winfrey, who ended up getting some quarterback pressures in that second half. And the Longhorns have, I believe, 2 commitments on the offensive line. They have Connor Robertson out of Westlake in the Austin area. They have Cole Hudson out of Frisco. I believe Hudson was in attendance for this game, so I'm sure he's kind of licking his chops in one way, saying, I might be getting some playing time, Dylan, out there as a true freshman. But, offensive line is that position where it seems like the freshmen really have a hard time being able to start. Unless you're Alabama, they seem to always have one true freshman or something. But for the most part, it's usually a lot of upperclassmen, but right now the talent seems to be lacking. Flood, obviously, Coach Flood on the offensive line, has the opportunity. I think he still has pieces to, I guess, make look better, but obviously he also wants to recruit some of his own guys in the future in order to be able to coach them. But lastly, Dylan, we talked offensive line, we talked cornerback, we talked linebacker. Those were the three. The top one I would say is the centerpiece. The Longhorns would love to have a centerpiece to that 2022 recruiting class. One name to watch out for, and I'm sure you all have heard of it, Evan Stewart, wide receiver out of Frisco Liberty. He opted out of this season just a week or two ago and is now basically a free agent for colleges. I believe he's going to be enrolling early too to the school of his choice. However, if you have been hearing about this story, schools like Florida are involved heavily. So the Longhorns have a good relationship with him. Sarkisian, as I mentioned already 800 times this video, he's got the system in place. I'm sure Stewart watched Worthy go off in the Red River game. And Stewart, the thing about him is his speed is pretty elite. His hands are pretty elite, which is a good combo. And he's also the nation's top wide receiver. Lucky for Sark, he's from the state of Texas. And I don't know, Dylan. He's just kind of got that mold of wide receivers that Sark has liked.
You pair him next to Xavier Worthy, you got the next coming of LSU. You know, it's one of those situations that you
2019
that talented.
LSU.
2019, well, yeah, 2019 obviously, but that would be a huge get, of course.
Yeah, and those guys are all, actually in the conversation. I wasn't shooting for people that Texas doesn't have a shot at. If you get maybe three out of the five, I believe I named there, or 3 or 4, two or 3 guys out of that list, you're doing pretty good. Your recruiting class probably going from ranked to 3rd to maybe number 1 conversation, at least top 2. But Dylan, now we get to the good old Texas high school football predictions. We got our lightning round. The first game we got, number 11 Allen at number 4 Denton Guyer. I got Denton Guyer.
It pains me. I always like picking Allen, but yeah, Denton Guyer has looked better this season. I'm looking at them to win this game. Now the next one, we have another 6A matchup with number 22 CE King at number 6 Atascocita. If CE King wins this game, Devin, they play North Shore afterwards, so this could be one to watch. But I'm going with Atascocita.
Yeah, I got Atascocita as well. The next game we got 5A D2, number 5 Lubbock Cooper at number 8 Wichita Falls Rider. I got Lubbock Cooper.
I have Wichita Falls. Now, next we got 3A D2, number 10 Idalou at number 9 Abernathy. Devin, I'm going with the road team in Idalou.
Me too. I was kind of surprised. I got Idalou. Next game we got 2A D2, number 2 Windthorst at number 3 Munster. I got Windthorst.
Okay, I got Munster, Devin.
And who do you guys got in this week's picks? And also, which recruits are you looking at for Longhorns to try to get after that Red River game? Let us know down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a great rest of your day.